Have you ever wondered, what makes a person willingly give up everything, his family, his peace, even his life, and still remain at peace within? In a world full of compromise and comfort, why did Imam Hussain refuse to bow? He didn't stand against an army for fame or power. He stood for something far greater. In this video, we're not here to debate history or politics. We're here to reflect on his faith, his love for Allah, and the quiet strength that can guide our hearts even today. Imam Hussain didn't refuse to bow out of pride. He didn't take a stand for revenge. He did it because his heart was deeply, unshakably connected to Allah. When he was asked to pledge allegiance to Yazid, a man known for corruption, injustice, and disregard for Islamic values, Imam Hussain knew it would not just be a political act. It would mean endorsing falsehood. It would mean validating injustice. And he couldn't do that, not because he hated Yazid, but because he loved Allah more. His refusal wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It was peaceful, but firm, because real faith doesn't shout, simply doesn't move when truth is at stake. Sometimes we think loving Allah is just about rituals, but Imam Hussain taught us true love for Allah means standing for what's right, even if you stand alone. And in that moment, when the world wanted him to bow to power, he chose to bow to Allah instead. Have you ever been through a time where you felt tested, where everything around you felt like it was falling apart? Imam Hussain knew what that meant, but on a scale we can barely imagine. He lost his friends. He saw the children cry in thirst. He carried the bodies of his loved ones, yet his heart never wavered, because his faith was not tied to outcomes. It was tied to Allah's wisdom, to his mercy, and to the promise that truth always wins, even when the world can't see it. He once said, "If the religion of Muhammad will not survive except with my blood, then let the swords take me." That's not just bravery. That's a man who had already surrendered to Allah's will completely. He wasn't afraid of losing, because he knew the real victory is staying true to your soul. And that's a lesson for us today. Sometimes you'll be tested in your job, your relationships, or your values. You'll be asked to bow to pressure, to fit in, to stay silent. But if you love Allah the way Hussain did, you'll remember, even if the whole world turns against you, truth remains truth, and Allah remains near. Imam Hussein's sacrifice wasn't just for one generation, okay? It was a message for every Muslim until the end of time. It reminds us that faith is not about comfort, it's about conviction. He showed us that standing with truth might cost you your life, but bowing to falsehood will cost you your soul. He didn't have armies or weapons. He had something stronger, a heart that refused to betray Allah, and that was enough. In today's world, we don't face armies, but we do face pressure to stay silent when injustice happens, to compromise when lying is easier, to forget our deen when the world offers temptation, okay? So the question isn't, why did Imam Hussain refuse to bow? Okay. The question is, why do we bow so easily when someone mocks your religion? Do you speak up? When you see wrong being done, do you stay silent to avoid conflict? When the ad-hand calls, do you run to prayer or scroll one more time? Imam Hussain didn't he sacrifice so we could cry in Muharram and forget the rest of the year? He sacrificed so we could live with dignity and die with faith. So every Muharram, ask yourself, am I standing with the truth or bowing to convenience? Because sometimes the greatest battle is not on the battlefield, it's inside your heart. Here's the most beautiful part. Imam Hussein's message wasn't just for Muslims. His stand has been admired by people of every background because truth, courage, and sacrifice are universal. Even leaders like Mahatma Gandhi said, "I've learned from Hussain how to achieve victory while being oppressed." He stood for justice. He stood for the voiceless. He stood for love. Love for Allah, love for truth, and love for the future. That's why, over 1400 years later, his name still brings tears. Because his story isn't just history, it's a mirror. A mirror that asks, will you stand when no one else will? Will you speak truth when it costs you something? Will you bow? Or will you rise like Hussein, our brothers and sisters? So now you know. Imam Hussain refused to bow, not because of politics, not because of pride, but because he had already bowed his heart to Allah. He gave us a path, a standard, a legacy. And every time we stand for what's right, no matter how small, we walk a little bit in his footsteps. If this video touched your heart, don't just watch and scroll. Reflect, share, change something inside you. Because Hussein didn't die for people to admire him. He lived and died so we could find the strength to truly live.